Hey, Saturday morning, 9:30 a.m., Memorial Day weekend 2025. So I am back in Waukesha. I had a great week last week in San Francisco, attending the New Living Expo and really trying to examine where my future might be. Ken, who produces the show, I've known him for 3 decades now, would like for me to take it over. It's a great annual event if you love New Age and New Living lifestyle. So it could be holistic to far out alien invasion stuff. It is a fun weekend, but anyway, I'm not sure I'm going to take it over. Anyway, why am I doing this recording? So I was thinking this morning about how things intercede, disrupt, or just sort of, I don't know if it's barricade or they become a bit of an obstacle. And I'm talking with my background and going, what's all that stuff? This is the remnants of what I closed my office last month. And so it's here. And I'm looking to move to Milwaukee. I looked at a condo yesterday and uh, price point very high, but also still not quite the center of things. Yes, it's downtown, it's closer to the action. Downtown Milwaukee is pretty cool, but to me, not quite Chicago or LA or New York. So, but trying to make the best of everything in the transition. So currently working on the todaystopsmoking.com project. Hopefully by mid-June that launches. And then next month, which is only starts in a week, it's a busy month. A lot of stuff going on, and I'll be back in Chicago for a whole week doing a Bill Walsh event and maybe going to the Small Business Expo and getting back on the CEO directory.com project. There's a lot going on. I worry about progress. And so this morning I was thinking about what intercedes. What is it that really is sort of like a barricade, at least some sort of obstacle that even if you jump over, there seems to be another one or another barrier to entry. And that might be to achieving the goals or the dream life or what I used to, and my partner used to call it one time, ideal. Like, what would be the ideal? You know, for someone like get a house, have kids, spoil them. And yet something always comes up, in the way that maybe the things that you want do occur, and they're maybe not in the exact form that you liked. And then you realize on one scale that maybe that was a big mistake. Or another side is like, wow, I blew that opportunity. And it seems to be in what I call an RTP, repeated thought pattern, but really we thought it's something that's in our thinking and in our behavior. And it also can be, given where I'm at in my writing, if you don't know me and watching this, you're going like, well, what's this about? Who is this? So I'm Dr. Mike, and this is sort of going to fit in the example that strategically as an avatar, Dr. Mike represents the social scientist that's examining our ways in which we're living in the hopes that he can wake society and humanity up from the mass trance, which is one of my writings, masstrance.com, the hypnosis of society, that our vision is obscured or our capacity to come into a full knowingness. And there might be a sense for some, like, oh, they do know, but they don't want to go there. There's something that's inhibiting, whatever this would be in the assertion of achieving that goal, the ideal, whatever it would be, something that would be more of a desired outcome. And so it could just be the way of life, right? That's a learning. So some of us are really dealing with karma or life lessons that we're just never able to sort of complete, at least not in the immediate time frame. Maybe a debt is owed, like you owe someone some money or they owe you. It's like pulling teeth to get it back. It's never coming back. So you go to court, but then you realize, why are you in this situation? That's just a fantasy example, not necessarily related to anything that I'm dealing with. So what is it? Something comes up in mind, or you see something. And this relates to my latest writing about phenomena or phenomenology, which is the philosophy in the study of our experiences. What are the structures of things that come up for us, that we experience, that become maybe this inhibitor? So I'm calling this talk precursor. Now, I'm not talking about the precursor on your laptop or your keyboard, although there could be some analogy. I'm talking about something that comes into vision or view, but it's almost too late because it's either something that formed in childhood, if we're going to go Freudian and we want to work through something, and you're going to go through psychoanalysis, they want to go back to how you were toilet trained, or what brand of diapers were you wearing, do you know? well, that's the cause of your situation now. No, it might be some influence of something, yeah. But the path, and how we swerve and through things, maybe if you believe that all roads do lead to Rome, we're going to work through it. I'm looking for the clearest direct path to have this awakening from the mass trance. So this latest writing called Phenom, Phenom, book.com, is about phenomenology. It's just basically explaining how in the structures of our experience we can come to observe something. And basically it's observing I, as Krishnamurti wrote, the observer being observed. And if we can come out of sort of the mass trance in a way that's not freaking anyone out, no blood in the streets, not, whatever rants that just embellish what we're trying to get past, hate, judgment. We can see that these are precursor elements, things that have come in that, in my analogy, have cursed the opportunity or inhibited something that could have been. And we're talking about here and now. We just don't see it. So it could be picking up the phone or sending that text or message, email, and answering someone's question or concern. Oh, my CDs. I was going through my CDs this morning. What CDs do you have? No, man, it's like, they're not music CDs. I have a few of those. These are subliminals and things I would use in practice for therapy. This is Louise Hay's Affirmations. This was pretty cool. I have all of her work on CD. All right. Try to catch the shiny object, put it back in the pocket for later. That's going to inform the todayquit.com, which is going to be the launch of the Today Stop Smoking program. Because you get supported in a lot of ways, guided meditations, and you'll have affirmations. Okay, sorry. The shiny object syndrome, I'll tell you. That's one of the precursors. So for me, it's a matter of paying attention. And I have a lot of ideas. So and some people say they're really great ideas. And to go with one. And for me, going with one would be to get traditionally book published by a major house. And Phenom would be a super bestseller, just like The Power of Now, because it is exactly this now coming into the reckoning. And the reckoning to me is awakening of the here and now, and where the observer observed is empowered. Now, looking at the precursor, we'd say, well, what disempowers, or what is it that people would typically observe when observing themselves? I also write about this as the I go. Where do I go in my mind? How do I see myself? And the I go is the selfie of the mind. It's us imagining us. So it's me imagining myself and I. So igoresearch.com to find out more about that, or igoism.com. igoresearch.com is the book pitch page for you agents, you book agents, publishers. Come on. We're talking about quantum change. And I'll promise to clean up my mess. Okay, go that way. All right. So the precursor is the challenge I want to talk about. And how long did it take for me to get into it? I'm already 8 minutes into it. So do you get it? So something always comes up, or it's just not, we're living through a very limited perspective. We got blinders on. We're boxed into our societal conditioning. So this all informs the mass trance, and we're inhabitants in it, because obviously we do not have a desirable, sustainable future. And whether you reckon with socialism, or you love capitalism, or you're looking for a third way out, to make a better world, right, for future generations and giving them the opportunity, there would be some seed element or some learning that's implanted. And I'm not talking about necessarily artificial intelligence, although there could be a place for everything that you come up with as a good idea, to how we can break through and take humanity to the next level. And yes, there is this assumption that we're not functioning at our highest capacity. What is our potential, right? Now, in technology, in some areas, people are experiencing a lifestyle that's incomparable to anything that humanity or the history of humankind has ever experienced. No question about it. And are we happy? Are we functioning more in cohesion as a community, as a society? Is not loneliness in epidemic numbers? Is depression and other, elements that are unfortunate realities. Now, it may not be as all bad as that, as some people might be living the best lifestyle of themselves, the 1% of the 1%. And yet, having had clients in that class, I also write about this in cringefactors.com, CRINGE, where we have class analogies, and whether it's people living through a racial lens, and their individuality is dependent on income. And I guess to me, what intrigues me, what's interesting to me is my driver. And I'm curious how people who are living a nationalist viewpoint, that they're a national of some sort, German or Russian, or how you act as an American, The Ugly American. It was a big book in the 60s. You think about how that all comes out, then we have gender and how we act in that regard. And the exponential element is our economic status. And we can add in ethnicity and age and religion. These factors kind of create this element of how ego is perceived and how we then deal with a labeled substance or element that we're identifying, or what I describe as entification. We're creating an entity. So when you have entity and you add an ID in front of entity, ID, entity is identity. Do you get it? So it's internal dialogue, what it is we're saying about ourselves or how we perceive the world out there that's informing this reckon. And this, to me, in my analogy, is the phenomenon. It's the here and now. And it's a phenomena that we're having this experience, that you could even think or observe and have some interpretation of the here and now. It's fascinating to me. So the wondering I had this morning about the precursor thing is, how is it that we can be in this world and not fully adapt into some kind of reckoning, right? Understanding and ability to, in our own capacity, to deal with whatever it is that we're dealing with, the here and now, this phenomenon. Now, we all do deal with it. Time goes by and things either fall to the wayside, it resolves by itself, or it never does, but other things come into play. And even though the importance and the value and the wish is there, these things are unfulfilled. What is the precursor? What is something that's you could say, preventing? Maybe I should call this talk pre-prevention. Yeah, pre-prevention of falls. And the clapper, make sure you have that on, and your identity bracelet. Plus, when you whistle, 911 immediately gets called. All for $10.99 a month. That's where your attention is. So intention is also coming into play. What is it that is this precursor? So I just decided I'm going to record it because I'm questioning it. This is going through my own Gedenken, which is the German word for thought experiment. And my thought processes are to share it with you and the world, because what I'm looking for is to create this ideal as a living philosophy that I'm calling ultra being. So what is it that inhibits us from truly living into our highest states? Now, for in society, do people expect you to be, I guess, successful at making a living, supporting yourself or your family, contributing to society in some way? Yeah, you're paying your taxes, but also being a good citizen, not law breaking. And in this way, we get by in life. We're making a living, and that's life. I'm more curious than that. It's like, what's the meaning of our life? So I have this MVP model, meaning and having some sort of vision and the way that we're living a life with purpose. That would then inform this ideal identity, I suppose. So MVP is like most valuable player to yourself, or minimum value proposition. It's also being clear of your mission and your values, and having a sense that really gives you a passionate perspective on things. So yeah, I do find that these inhibitor of whatever this precursor is, that's preventing us. And maybe when it's reckoned with, recognized, and dealt with elegantly, and I'm talking whole brained, holistically, that we're well informed in our decision making, this would break the patterns that are holding us back as a society, with the assumption that this is that we're really not at our potential, and we see war and poverty and pollution. The climate change is a reality, but you have these deniers out there. What alternative reality are people living in? So there has to be some precursor from the information of opinion that they believe is fact, without critical thinking, without researching it, without stepping out of the box where people feel comfortable because they're in group think, which is feeding into mass trance, because group think is just, consensus can be good. And I'm all for community conversations where there's input and we share ideas rather than just sharing opinion or the gossip or what has already been confirmed because Billy Bob said that and it must be true. But then you were the one that told Billy Bob that, and he's just saying it back to you. You know what I mean? You got this really incoherent loop, this echo chamber. So there is a precursor something going on. Now, judgment is definitely one element of it, because if I come into some fruition of it and I go, oh, I don't want that, what is my MVP with this? Like, how am I aligning or blocking because it doesn't fit with something? So I think it's important for us to recognize these things. If you're seeing light changes, I think that fits pretty good. And I do have a light changing thing back there, but it's not on. I just checked really quick, even though I knew it wasn't on. So these things are fascinating to me. So judgment in the way that you have to have some discernment if it's good for you or good for others, good for the whole, is something you're going to engage in as a quality, like right work, as Buddha talked about. So in the way that we come to judge something or have discernment, it can be good, particularly if it's whole brain, because we obviously don't want to take something in that might be harmful. Although the occasional respite can be, as an elixir, can be quite satisfying. And I'm not a proponent of drinking alcohol, because I really don't. But there are other things that could be smart drinks that could be enhanced, by adding certain components like ginger or spirulina. You get where I'm coming from. I had to correct course on that because some people were going, oh, he's talking about magic mushrooms. All right. So we come into an alignment of something. So the idea of awakening and to maybe uncover the precursor would be to sort of identify what it is that I'm thinking, the first component of the TWA, the flight you take every day. TWA, thoughts, words, and actions. So I'm recognizing my thought of that, and that's coming to judgment, and I can recognize the quality of the words, how I'm talking about it, particularly in the deliverables to Billy Bob or Joe. Because if I'm just repeating back the same old because we got a consensus going, we all agree that that's wrong, and it's completely made up, and what's wrong is the thinking and the words you're using, because, my God, some of the time I hear people talking, I'm going, that's reality. You have to come from the observer, being observed perspective as a social scientist. Otherwise, I get lost in the precursor of the judgment of it without having the ability to stay focused, to pay attention, and to have this ability, really, which is the practice of being present. So if we have an ultra being philosophy, it has to begin with the quality of being present. And what am I present to? This ideal or sense of self, or the ego? Well, it has to begin with something. Now, first it would be, what is it that I'm sensing? Just clearly a vestibular kinesiology, or being kinetically aligned to what it is that I'm feeling. Did you see the third eye flash right there? Was that my mind? I thought like maybe the camera view or the lighting. Anyway, back to it. What am I sensing? What am I feeling? How am I here? So understanding that first I'm feeling something, and then I'm examining how it is that I'm thinking and saying something about it. So TWA is my thinking, and the W is my word usage. Is it wisdom, or is it wrong? You catch yourself. That's the ability. And the TWA, the A, is actualizing it. So I catch myself in my act, because we all have an act, and how we show up. It's this persona projecting that I write about in igoresearch.com, the book pitch page. And so it's curious to me. It's like, if things are pre-functionary, there has to be some precursors that's sort of in our mental programming and our emotional output, that if we don't catch ourselves, we tend to go into mode. So it would be an RTP, repeated thought pattern, an MO, modus operandi. The cringe factor will act out based on class, race, and income identity, nationality, and gender, and this ethnicity, or this economic, you could say, establishment fitting in, is a profile figure. That's I identifying with you and the world out there through my TWA, the flight I take every day. What are my thoughts? What are my words and my actions? This is investigating. This is introspection. This is the beginning of I awareness. Otherwise, what kind of awareness would you have? So if something is happening and I'm in judgment, then it's already prefigured for me. And it could be righteous judgment. I'm not saying there's right or wrong on this. It's just that if you are not practicing this presence, this practice of being present to your own self, where I'm aware of my thinking, the quality of the words I'm using, and the way I'm acting, then I'm kind of lost in this alternative reality, and that is the mass trance. It's made up. Now, of course, we're living in our minds. It's imagination, and together, collectively, we've created a society. We have built our own reality, or a world that has been constructed. There's no question about it. Look around. It's been constructed. That is our inherent experience, and it's affected our natures. There's no question about it. So this precursor investigation is to help us wake us up out of those components that keep us in fault judgment, so that at least we have an awareness of the TWA. This is the thoughts I'm having, so I can change them if I don't like them. At least I can make them congruent to at least filtering through the reality or how I perceive things in the phenombook.com, PHENOM book.com. So this is my experience of the here and now. Now, this stuff could sound really profound and really deep. It's really just having the recognition of the here and now and full appreciation that you have this experience. And as you're observing it in this quality of a social scientist, and I relate to this in my CARES model, because I care. CARES, CARES. This is community action research examining our quality of engagement and examining what's enlightenment, so that we as a humanity can kind of wake up and have this desirable, sustainable future. And for me, and the purpose of this talk is to examine this precursor element. And I'm right at the 21-minute mark here. So getting to the judgment, it's like, how do we understand what it is that we're thinking, saying to ourselves about ourselves, passing this along as communicable, maybe as a communicable dis-ease, because people kind of go, you're telling them stuff that is not helping them out. It's not bridging deficits. It's not bringing things forward in a way that's going to lead to enlightenment. So these are things that, I want to examine. And if there's something that I need to consider, this would be the process through what would be an awakening encounter through community action research on this quality of engagement, whether it's communityconversations.com or loving conversations that are more intimate. So there's some sort of breakthrough model that's engaging in a way that it's very permission oriented. It's permission inviting. So there's really a deep quality of interaction that you want to be heard what the person is saying. So this TWA is a shared model. What are they thinking? What are they saying? And attributing that to like this action-oriented engagement is going to allow us to have this breakthrough, at least in my theory of mind, right? The BIDEC, BIDECK.masstrance.com. What are we filtering things through? Our beliefs and, our identity, and really what our intentions are. What is it that we really want? And to be awakened and aware of this can help us in our decision-making, in the direction that we're going, whether you call it dharma or destiny, right? This is a quality of engagement I am so curious about, because this type of knowledge on a kinesthetic level that now is allowing me to hear what's really going on. I'm here and now. What am I saying to myself about myself? What is it that I'm interpreting? I get out of my judgments in such a way that if I need to make a decision, it's more highly informed, right? And now I get the big picture versus the other way around in a visual society where things are impacted by immediate impressions that are often given to you. So the judgment is already made to buy the product, or like, oh yeah. And it's really faulty in design, really, because it's inhibiting our breakthrough. And it could be great in the moment because it's giving some pleasure and satisfaction. And yet we're spellbound by it. So the way through this process is to step back. To me, to be the observer observed is really just simply stepping back. You might be in the gap, a moment between thoughts before you speak, and any kind of act is just simply ultra being present. And this ultra beingness really is an emptiness. And yet everything can manifest, right? And to have the sense of it. So to me, it's a challenge of focus, right? Where are we placing our attention? And if things are disoriented, right, or disattracted, then we have to be aware of what is things that we don't want that we're allowing in our lives, or we haven't worked through or resolved in a way that's going to allow us to have the breakthrough that we all elegantly wish to have and dream of. So for me, moving on from this destination in a month or two to be in downtown Milwaukee, maybe next year it'll be Chicago or back to LA or San Francisco if I take over the New Living Expo. Who knows? Still want to stay close to my kids. And so whatever these elements are that trip us up or create the challenge or an opportunity to see through things, is to understand our MVP and have clarity really in our TWA, thoughts, words, and actions. And maybe understanding that if something is going to trip us up as this precursor idea, that we're able to catch ourselves in a sense and go, oh, I'm not going to repeat that pattern. I'm going to recognize myself. I need to pay back that person the money that's owed. It's high time. Person just let it go because they knew in time that the responsibility was up to me. And so now you take action in the framework of being this ideal person, of who you are spiritually, and not defining anything else because of greed or just personality deficit of selfishness or just, other analogy. You do what's right. And this is this ultra being present that now becomes expressed. And it's the practice of the here and now, being present. This is a gift then. And now we show up in this manner. This is the awakening. This is the changeover. This is the transformation. Humanity's awakening will depend on this collectively, 100th monkey, whatever. It begins with you. Step over the precursors. Stop repeating the old RTPs, repeated thought patterns that inhibit. I'm drmike.org. Thank you so much for checking this out. It's a wonderful opportunity. drmike.org. Looking at a new podcast called the XQ Podcast. We'll talk about the XQ next time. Otherwise, go to mikesmastermind.com. mikesmastermind.com and look up XQ. It's a fascinating talk. You'll understand precursor better when you check that out. Thank you. drmike.org.